Welcome, everyone, to our NCAA social series. This is episode 49. I'm Andy Katz. I'm pleased to be joined by Stan Wilcox, who is the Executive Vice President at the NCAA in charge of regulatory affairs, and Joe and Carole Roach. They are the parents of Jeremy Roach, a Duke freshman guard, and they join us this week from the ACC tournament in Greensboro, North Carolina. Joe and Carole, I want to start with you guys. First, the College Basketball Parents Association. This is new during the pandemic in 2020 for men's and women's basketball. If you can, just tell me what it is and how it was formed.
Okay, it was formed by the need to empower parents, to give them an understanding of the recruiting process. It's very daunting, especially at the high level. And so the CBPA was formed to be a resource to those college parents going through the recruiting process so that they would have an organization or a forum or somewhere to go to ask those questions that perhaps you don't want to ask your coach, or just to get information so that you do feel empowered going through that process. So it's a group of college parents. Their kids are currently in college, and we meet through Zoom, meet through different technologies. And at the beginning, we just got together, we just talked about our different issues, and we found that we had so many common issues and so many common unanswered questions, and just difficulty navigating through and just feeling like you didn't have the information you needed, and really just putting all of your trust into the coaches to get you those answers, or to think that you got the answers that you needed. And so we found that just through initial discussions before it was actually even launched, that there is a need. I mean, they were just trying to determine if there was a need out there. And it was overwhelmingly see that, yes, we are, the parents have lost their way when it gets to the college recruiting process, especially if it's your first time. Usually it's trial by error. You have your oldest kid, you do the worst on, and then your second kid, you do a little bit better. So this group is really just about networking. It's about building relationships, with people we all have the same common goal, and that's to have the best college experience for our kids. And it's also about education through the CBPA. We've met with the NCAA, we've met with the NABC, we've met with medical staff of the NCAA, and this is all just giving us information. And I want to say, we feel like it's insider information, because unless you have access to those contacts, you can't get down to that level of detail. Joe, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
You said it all. It's all good.
So it's free. I'll say it's free to join, and anyone can join. Any college parent going through the recruiting process, well, high school going into college. We meet regularly, meet once a month. And then we have what we call Education Hour, which is open to all of our members. And we cover different topics. We've covered COVID, we've covered mental health, and we've covered NIL, name, image, and likeness.
So Stan, this is very similar as a college parent myself. There have been Facebook groups of just trying to hear different things. And I know the college admissions process that I went through with my wife is exhausting and overwhelming. And you need other people who are going through it. And there's been times when, there might have felt like an adversarial relationship in decades past, but we're in a new era. What's been the NCAA's view of trying to work with the parents to be on the same team, to get the information out? And look, if someone abuses that, even after you know everything, you can't do anything, but at least to really start on the same page so that everyone is there as a resource, as also an advocate, for the parent, as well as the prospective student athlete.
First of all, I'd say, Andy, is very, very important. This year it was kind of like a perfect storm. Obviously with the COVID issues that we were having and the return to play issues. The first, in the fall, we had a parents group that was created for football parents. It was basically run by Christopher and Maya Hinton. They both have sons. They have sons that play for Stanford and for Michigan. And there were a lot of questions around, what are the safety issues and safety factors that institutions and conferences will be following in order to return back to safely to participate in football. We found the same happening when basketball started. This basketball parents group was created and had a lot of questions, obviously, surrounding health and safety. So in the fall, we started the conversations with that football parents group. We felt it was very important that they got the correct and right information directly from the NCAA. And when the basketball group also started and we learned about them, we contacted them and also, again, want to make sure they have the correct and most up-to-date information as it dealt with their sons and daughters' health and safety, getting back on the court and on the playing field, to make sure that we were providing to them the core information that was coming about from our professionals, our professionals that are dealing in the medical field, so that they know exactly what and how their sons and daughters would be handled on the field, playing field, and on the court. And then also, we obviously also wanted to make sure they're aware of, if you have further questions or have other issues, here's a 1-800 number that deals with the whole COVID issue. And so then we also then wanted to expand it beyond that, because each group really had questions that were surrounding a number of things. Because with COVID, we also had a season last year that was canceled, and we had some changes going on as far as the number of years of eligibility, basically giving student athletes ability to come back and play another year. So we had questions around seasons of competition. We had questions around transfer. So we wanted to make sure that we opened up lines of communications with both groups and basically any other parents group out there, so that they're getting the information directly from us and have an avenue to go to whenever they have questions.
So I'm going to get to the COVID issue in a moment, but Joe and Carole, I think this is so critical, because for years, and I've been doing this, for 3 decades, it was basically the parents almost versus, the school and maybe the conference, that you didn't have this third party that should be neutral, that, does not necessarily have a say in what happens on school X or conference Y, that, hey, if I have a problem here, I can now turn to the NCAA and find out what are my rights, or what are my student athletes' rights here in this world. How much so far have you found that this is helpful, that you've got this other avenue to find out sort of what the rules are? Because you never know, is someone telling you what really the rules are at your institution? Not that this is happening at Duke, but just this way you've got another way to find out information.
Yeah, I mean, it really empowers you. This organization has just empowered you, and just to know that you can call anybody and say, hey, this is my problem. We've had people come to us asking us questions about, can I sell something, and we have the right connections now to be able to get those answers for people. And so it just gives people a certain level of comfort knowing that, okay, I can get an answer. I don't have to go through the athletic director, because sometimes people are leery about their question that they want to ask. They don't want to put it out there to the school. Maybe it's something personal. And so, we've just, for me, it's just been very empowering to know kind of to know where to go to get the information that otherwise you would just kind of maybe have to Google it, or just kind of shrug your shoulders and say, oh, well, we'll see how it plays out. But you don't have to do that any longer. You can actually touch base with the people who have those answers.
Yeah, I will tell you that just in covering this, on the other side, there would be so many times where it wasn't malicious. A lot of times, any kind of violations, for example, were just done out of just lack of knowledge of the
Right.
rule, not
Right.
because they wanted to do something, unethical or morally wrong or what have you. All right, so I want to shift to this year because obviously it's been like no other in any of our lives. What has this been like to deal with, your son, knowing that, when they decided to play and everyone had that option to opt out and at any point, that it was going to be difficult and you weren't going to be able to hang out with them. Majority of schools, you weren't going home or you weren't going there. Things have lessened a little, obviously, here at the end. But what was that like in terms of navigating that process of accepting that it was going to be incredibly difficult, isolating, because I can tell you from personal experience, dealing with a child going off for freshman year is difficult enough. Throwing
Right.
a pandemic and isolation and virtual classes, and it's like it could not be worse in terms of a perfect storm.
Right. Well, we always knew that, he was going to go. We never had the question of, will you sit this season out or not? So he was always gung ho about making sure that he got there. Duke did a fantastic job about a month before the kids went. We had Zoom calls like every week talking about the testing protocols, talking about, what happens the first day, what happens the second day. I mean, they really laid out pretty much the first 2 or 3 weeks of how the kids, would cover themselves or protect themselves. And, unfortunately, they gave us the bad news that we couldn't
couldn't come
attend
in.
the games. And, that was very disheartening. It was a hard pill to swallow. But at the end of the day, we had to realize that for the safety of the
first.
kids, we had to make that sacrifice. So there's been a ton of sacrifices just all along the way. I mean, the kids are sacrificing their college life, the quote unquote college life. Parents are sacrificing not being able to see their kids play at the college level, which we waited for so many years. But Duke, again, they did a fantastic job. They brought in doctors from the ACC to talk about protocols. I mean, we asked all the questions that we, had. They talked about the different type of testing, what it meant. So, I felt very comfortable sending him off to Duke, knowing that he would be in a protected environment, and they were looking out for health over basketball first. And I think that's a credit to the university. So I felt comfortable sending him. It was definitely an adjustment, just to, just kind of worrying about his mental health, just basketball and being isolated. And to this day, I still worry about, is he, I know he's strong enough, but certainly people internalize more than they verbalize. And so that does concern me that, it is taking an effect. And, we've been trying to tell him that this season is really all about your mental toughness. Everybody's got the basketball skill, but your mental toughness is what's going to get you through, because like you said, couldn't come home. It's been since August. And Coach K did a great job in allowing the boys to come home. I mean, they still had to test, they still had to quarantine, they still had to go through all of the protocols, but at least they got to come home, because it is tough. They're in a hotel. All they see is the basketball players and the coaches and the hotel. And classes are online, so they don't know any of their other Duke students, none of the personnel. So yeah, I worry a lot about the mental aspect of it. I mean, basketball aside, I just worry, and I just hope that they have acclimated kind of more so to the new norm, rather than kind of always wishing for it to be a different way.
Stan, Carole brings up a great point about how athletes have been sort of put in their own little pod to make this season work, and regardless of sport. I'm curious just how concerned you are that, hopefully we get back to the student athlete becoming immersed into the college community, and that we don't have, these sort of separate pods that really was years ago when there would be like athletic dorms and that's all they would see. That we get back to at least some assimilation for everyone on the college campus.
Yeah, we're obviously hoping that that all of our member institutions are going to be able to work through that and really reintegrate the student athletes back into the normal student body and the normal student life. That's critically important. I think obviously for individuals who are student athletes who want to have a collegiate experience. It's not just all about participating in their sport, but it's about obviously getting the education, getting an opportunity to make different kinds of friendships with individuals outside of the athletics field. And those are going to be friendships that they're going to have for the rest of their lives. And, we're, from the NCAA's perspective, we'll provide any kind of programming that we can to help institutions get back into that as we come out of the pandemic. Brian Hainline has been obviously our chief medical officer, has done a great job, number one, in making sure that we get through this pandemic and be able to participate in sports. But we're also, and we've always been focused on mental health of our student athletes and the things that we need to make sure that we are paying attention to and providing to our student athletes to make sure that their mental health is also being attended to. And so I do hope and I do believe that that as we come out of this pandemic, things will get back to normal. Student athletes will be able to have a normal student life, although you never have a normal student life when you're participating at a very high level, particularly in those particular sports of basketball and football. But I, as a former student athlete myself, as a matter of fact, Joe and Carole, I was an administrator there at Duke for 5 years under Kevin.
Oh, wow.
So I know Coach K and Kevin very well, and they are individuals that are highly, know how important it is for student athletes to have a normal student life, right. And they will make sure that occurs after this pandemic.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly.
So Joe and Carole, I want to pick up on the mental health aspect. As I mentioned, as a college parent, for example, my daughter's a theater major. They can't do theater right now. The one plus for student athletes is they can play their sport. And as hard as it has been, especially if there's been any quarantining or isolation for positive tests or contact tracing, which I don't care who you are, is incredibly difficult to go through no matter what your age is. But what has it meant to Jeremy to at least be able to play his sport? Because the alternative would be to do nothing and just be in virtual school and not have that outlet.
Well, if he was in virtual school, he would be at home. So he would not be there. But it means, he was very worried at the beginning of the season in the July timeframe, especially when they were scheduled to go back in June and they kept pushing it back. He was so worried that they weren't going to play the season at all. I think that was just really weighing on his mind. And once the coaches assured him, okay, you're coming, and gave him a little sense that things would that they would play, he felt a little bit better. But there was still just so much uncertainty, because you never know, was there going to be a huge breakout at the school and they were going to shut the school down? Once he got there, then that was his next worry. Okay, are the numbers going to go up and they're going to send everybody home and we still can't play? So as we inch closer to November, felt a little more comfortable. started the season, had a condensed, okay, we'll go with that 2-week delay. You know, he was happy with that. And then our first couple of games got canceled because the other team tested positive. So now you're back to, oh my gosh, you know, is this going to be every game? Am I going to get to play? So for probably, you know, August through December, in the back of his mind, he's wondering, am I going to get to play? And you just, you know, hope that that doesn't affect, you know, your enthusiasm. It doesn't, you know, affect your motivation for playing the game and getting out there every day. So
yes, we hope that every day that we can keep going forward. Last topic here real quick, Stan, this will be interesting for parents, is that we've got these two classes that are going to be sort of clashing together with this eligibility waiver essentially for all seniors, that they can come back. I think the Parents Association could come into play here of, you know, how that's going to play out, because you've got new parents coming in. There may be bloated rosters. There may be seniors who aren't going to leave. You know, all this whole thing is going to have to play out in the spring and summer as we figure out, you know, who's staying, who's not, draft, coming back, free year, and all those kinds of things. What would be your advice to the Parents Association going forward, especially as these things happen in 21 and 22?
Yeah, I guess my advice really would be, you know, the one thing that we are really concerned about, and the reason why we've kind of done these things is, I hope we never have a pandemic like this before, and this type of thing requires special situations, things that we have to really look at and think about. Our paramount to collegiate athletics is the student athlete experience. And we want to make that student athlete experience the best it possibly can. So we don't want to shortchange anybody of that experience. So yeah, we have to think about those who may have not gotten an opportunity to participate last year because of the fact that we had to shut down the NCAA tournament, et cetera. And that's not just, you know, in basketball, but in other sports. And moving forward, we have to make adjustments to allow for those who we're concerned about, to make sure they get their full kind of student athlete experience, but also look at those who are obviously that are going to be coming into the system, that are coming into an environment that's unlike any in the past, because as Andy mentioned, some teams can be maybe inflated. You know, you have more point guards than you may have normally had. But you know, you got to look at it as a positive thing, because you're now going to get an opportunity to really compete against those you thought you may not have been able to, because they might have been gone, but they're coming back, etc. But the main thing, Andy, regarding all of this is we'll figure out a way to make it work. And we'll figure out a way to make sure that the student athletes have the best experience they possibly can, because that's what we're all about. That's what all the administrators are about, coaches, etc. We want to provide the best collegiate athletic experience we possibly can for the student athletes, as well as for their parents, families, and friends. And at the end of the day, that's our goal. And I know that we'll make that work.
So Joe and Carole, before we go, just so if other parents are watching, how can they find information about these monthly meetings with the College Basketball Parents Association?
They can go to the CBPA.org and they can look at, there's a registration link. There's also, you know, support page, about us page, but the CBPA.org, and it is free to join.
All right, great. The CBPA.
Right.
.org.
Yes.
And Andy, could I say just
at the NCAA, no organization loves acronyms more. So
exactly. And Andy, could I say just one more thing?
Yeah.
I just want to say to Joe and Carole, you know, actually thank you very much for creating this organization, because it actually helps us be able to communicate through one group and get a lot of information out through your group, and it's been great working with you and being able to have some of our experts be a part of some of the Zoom meetings that you have, and we're looking forward to continue with that relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, same here. Enjoy getting that info from you too.
Thank you.
Joe and Carole Roach, Stan Wilcox, appreciate all of you and taking some time here, sharing this information, which I think will be an organization, an acronym that will get used more and more going forward. And that'll include this episode of our NCAA social series. As always, you can go to ncaa.org/social series, where we have all of them archived. You can watch all 49 of them as we approach our magic number 50 as we keep going here. As always, stay safe. We'll talk to you next week.